Imagine this. It's a serene full moon night. You're King Ajātasattu, a powerful ruler in ancient India, with all the riches and might anyone could desire. Yet, something's off. Your mind is restless. There's this void, a nagging question that even your vast kingdom can't seem to fill. You're yearning for true peace, for something real, something tangible. So what do you do? Who do you turn to for genuine insight, for answers that give you, well, immediate visible results?
It's a classic human situation, isn't it? Even with everything, that quest for inner peace, for meaning, it persists. And the king's question, it's actually surprisingly practical for a spiritual search.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at an ancient text, the Sāmaññaphalasuttaṃ, which basically means the discourse on the fruits of recluseship.
Right. The fruits, the results.
Yeah, we'll follow King Ajātasattu on his very personal quest to understand the visible, the immediate benefits of living a spiritual life. He asks this question that sounds simple, but it's really not. Is there a clear, immediate reward for a spiritual path? Just like there are for ordinary jobs, like being a charioteer or even a barber.
It's such a fascinating starting point, grounding these potentially lofty spiritual claims in really observable outcomes. And our source material for this deep dive, it's really rich. It details the king's encounters with, 6 prominent spiritual teachers of his time.
Big names back then.
Absolutely. And then finally, his crucial meeting with the Buddha.
So our mission for you today is to unpack these really diverse philosophical perspectives. We want to discover what one of the most influential spiritual figures ever actually offered as direct, observable fruits of spiritual practice. It's kind of a shortcut, really, to getting informed about these deep philosophical differences and profound spiritual claims. Ready to unpack this?
Let's do it. So the scene is Rajagaha, this beautiful full moon night. King Ajātasattu, he's with his ministers. And he voices this deep yearning for clarity. He wants a teacher whose presence alone would just settle his mind.
And his ministers, doing their job, they start suggesting this whole lineup of famous spiritual leaders, each one representing a totally different school of thought. But here's the interesting part. After each suggestion, the king just stays silent.
Completely silent, clearly unconvinced.
Yeah, he's basically on this intense spiritual search, like going from guru to guru, and nothing is clicking.
Right. So the first one they suggest is Pūraṇa Kassapa. He taught something called Akiryavada, which is basically the doctrine of no action. He claimed there are absolutely 0 moral consequences for anything you do, good or bad.
Zero.
He actually said, and this is a quote, "If one were to make the entire earth into a single mass of flesh with a razor-sharp discus, there would be no evil from that." And on the flip side, by giving, by self-restraint, by self-control, by speaking truth, there is no merit from that. No merit would accrue.
Wow. Okay. How could a king accept that? If nothing matters, how do you rule a kingdom, maintain any kind of order?
Exactly. It just completely pulls the rug out from under any kind of governance or even personal responsibility. So naturally, the king found that totally unacceptable.
Makes sense.
So next up, he encounters Makkhali Gosāla. This teacher presented Sāsara, which is a philosophy of extreme fatalism.
Fatalism, meaning?
Meaning he taught that beings become good or bad, pure or impure, with no cause, no condition. It's all predetermined. There's no point in self-exertion or human striving. Everything's just fixed by fate.
So we're all just puppets.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He said all beings just wander through these incredibly vast time periods, like 8,400,000 great eons, until suffering just ends on its own. His analogy was, just as a ball of string, when thrown, unwinds itself as it goes, so fools and wise alike, wandering through existence, will make an end of suffering, eventually.
Okay, so again, if it's all fated, why bother trying? Why pursue a spiritual path at all? Not very motivating. And then there was Ajātasattu.
Yes, Ajātasattu. He represented Uchittavada, or annihilationism, basically a stark materialism.
Annihilationism, meaning when you die, that's it.
That's absolutely it. He said there's no fruit of good or bad deeds, no afterlife, no parents in a karmic sense, no spontaneously born beings. The body, just 4 elements, earth, water, fire, air. And when you die, the sense faculties pass into space. Both fools and wise on the dissolution of the body are utterly destroyed and perish. They do not exist after death. Full stop.
Definitive nothingness. Quite bleak.
Very. From there, the king met Pakudha Kakyana. His view was Sāsativada, or eternalism, kind of like atomism. He proposed that reality is made of 7 fundamental, unchangeable things. He called them bodies: earth, water, fire, air, pleasure, pain, and life.
Okay, so these 7 things are eternal, unchanging.
Exactly. And because they're eternal and distinct, he believed there's actually no killer or causer of killing. If you swing a sword, it just passes through the empty space between these eternal elements. You haven't destroyed anything fundamental.
That's a very abstract way to look at violence or anything, really.
Yeah.
Probably not the practical, visible fruit the king was hoping for.
Unlikely. Then he was introduced to Nigatana Putta, who is a key figure in what we now know as Jainism.
Ah, okay. What was his teaching?
He taught Katuyama Savara a doctrine of fourfold restraint. Very rigorous, especially about avoiding harm to any life, even microscopic, and particularly focused on water. It emphasized extreme self-restraint, purification through ascetic practices. The text even describes it as being restrained from all water, bound by all water, purified by all water, permeated by all water.
Intense discipline, certainly, but maybe more focused on external rules than the inner state the king sought.
That seems to be how the king perceived it, yes. It didn't quite hit that mark of immediate, tangible, internal results he was after. And finally, the last of the 6 was Sāmaññaphalasuttaṃ.
Sanya, what was his deal?
He was known for Vikippavada. It's often called eel wriggling, basically extreme agnosticism or skepticism.
Eel wriggling, because he was slippery.
Precisely. Ask him a direct question about existence after death, about karma, about enlightened beings, and he'd refuse to commit. He'd say things like, I don't say that, nor do I say it's not so, nor do I say it's both, nor do I say it's neither.
So just constant evasion.
Yeah.
You can see why the king might find that frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the text says the king considered him the most foolish of the lot.
He did, which is interesting, isn't it?
It really is. And what strikes me is how many of these ancient ideas, nihilism, fatalism, materialism, even extreme skepticism, they still resonate today. People still grapple with these exact same viewpoints. The king's journey wasn't just some historical anecdote. It was a real search for meaning against a backdrop of philosophies we're still debating.
Absolutely true. So after this, let's say, spiritually frustrating shopping trip,
Good way to put it.
Javaka Kumarabaka, who is the king's physician, finally speaks up. He suggests the Buddha. He describes the Buddha's reputation, calling him arahant, fully self-awakened, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, teacher of gods and humans. High praise.
And the king, maybe feeling like this is his last hope, he agrees. So they organize this grand procession, elephants, attendants, the whole royal show heading towards where the Buddha was staying with his monks.
Yeah. And here's a powerful moment. Despite all his kingly power and entourage, as Ajātasattu gets closer to the Buddha's assembly, 1,250 monks gathered there, he feels. Fear.
Trepidation.
Fear. Why fear?
The text emphasizes the silence, the profound, deep silence of this huge gathering of monks. It was utterly unlike the noise and ceremony of the court. The king himself compares their serene gathering to a clear lake.
That's silence.
Stillness. It was apparently quite awe-inspiring, maybe even intimidating.
Wow, I can almost picture that. A silence so deep, it's palpable. It really speaks volumes about the kind of atmosphere the Buddha and his followers cultivated.
It really paints a picture. So the king arrives, settles down, and he presents his original question directly to the Buddha. What are the immediate visible fruits of being a recluse, of following the spiritual path? Fruits comparable to the rewards of worldly crafts. The same question he'd asked, or tried to ask, the others. And how does the Buddha respond? Does he jump into deep philosophy?
No, and this is brilliant. He starts with things that are incredibly accessible, very relatable, especially for a king. He uses rhetorical questions.
Okay, like what?
He asks the king to imagine one of his own slaves, someone completely subservient, living a life of toil. Now, imagine that slave decides to leave that life, becomes a monk. The Buddha asks, would you, O king, then say, let this man come back, let him be my slave again?
Of course not. The king would have to say no.
Exactly. The king concedes he wouldn't. Instead, he says he himself would bow down to that former slave, offer him requisites, provide protection. And the Buddha says, this, great king, is the first immediate visible fruit of recluseship.
Ah, I see. It's about immediate social transformation, respect, security. That is visible.
Precisely. It grounds it immediately. And he gives another example. A hardworking householder, maybe a farmer burdened by debts and taxes, who renounces that life to become a monk. Again, the Buddha asks, would you force him back to his old work?
No. Same answer. You'd offer respect and support.
Right. That's the second immediate visible fruit. So for you listening, the Buddha starts by highlighting this immediate observable shift in social standing, in well-being, in the kind of respect you receive just by taking up this path.
That's really clever. Start with the external, the social, before going internal.
Exactly. Then he transitions to the profound inner transformation. And this starts with ethical conduct, sīla, moral purity. He describes someone hearing the Dharma, gaining faith, leaving the household life, and ordaining as a monk.
Okay, so laying the foundation. How does he break down this ethical conduct? Is it just don't do bad things?
It's much more detailed. It's presented as a gradual refinement, a training. It's broken down into 3 sections, the small, middle, and great sections of morality. The Kula sīla, or small morality, covers the absolute basics. Don't kill, don't steal, no sexual misconduct, no lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle chatter, pretty fundamental ethics. It also includes specific renunciations relevant to monks, like not harming plants unnecessarily, not storing food, avoiding perfumes, high beds, accepting gold or silver.
Okay, the essentials. What about the middle section?
The Majjhima sīla, middle morality, goes further. Avoiding gossip, avoiding frivolous entertainment things like watching dancing, listening to music purely for fun, attending shows, animal fights, playing games, gambling. Also, importantly, not acting as a go-between or messenger, and abstaining from deception, divination, and charlatanry practices that some other ascetics of the time apparently engaged in.
Ah, so it's distinguishing this path from others that might mix spiritual claims with, let's say, less scrupulous means.
Exactly. And then there's the Mahasīla, the great morality. This involves abstaining from what the text calls various low arts.
Low arts, like what?
Things like astrology, palmistry, interpreting omens, predicting battles or weather, giving advice on marriage or property, practicing certain kinds of folk medicine or casting charms. It's about purifying one's livelihood and conduct completely, focusing only on the path to liberation, not these worldly sideshows.
So it's this progressive building of integrity, not just avoiding the big mistakes, but really refining your whole way of interacting with the world down to the details.
Yeah.
What's the immediate visible fruit of this part, the ethical conduct?
This is key. The Buddha says the immediate fruit is that the monk feels no fear or blame with himself because of this moral restraint. They experience inner blameless happiness.
Inner blameless happiness. That's powerful. It's not some reward after death. It's a state of mind right here, right now.
Exactly. A tangible sense of inner peace that comes from living ethically. And this foundation allows for the next steps, mastering the senses and the mind.
Okay, how does that work?
He talks about indriya savada, sense restraint. This means actively guarding the 6 sense doors: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. And the mind itself not getting carried away by pleasant things or repulsed by unpleasant things, preventing greed and distress from taking over.
And the fruit of that.
The visible fruit here is described again as a kind of happiness, inner unblemished happiness. A mind not constantly pulled around by likes and dislikes is naturally more peaceful.
That makes intuitive sense.
Building on that is sati sampajañña, mindfulness and clear comprehension, being fully present and aware in everything you do. Walking, eating, dressing, speaking, even when being silent. Knowing what you're doing and why.
Total presence.
Yes. And then comes santuhi, contentment. Being satisfied with the absolute basics. Robes for protection from the elements, food just for sustenance. Traveling light, as the text says, like a bird with only its wings.
That sounds like freedom.
It brings a visible lightness, a freedom from the burden of possessions and wanting. You know those days when your mind just feels cluttered with worries, desires, regrets? The Buddha is laying out a step-by-step method to clear that clutter, to find this immediate inner lightness and ease.
Okay, so ethical conduct, sense restraint, mindfulness, contentment. That's the groundwork. Where does it lead next?
It leads deeper into meditation and cultivating specific inner states. The monk, typically living in solitude, now works directly on the mind to overcome the 5 hindrances.
5 hindrances, right. These are the main obstacles to mental clarity.
Exactly. They are covetousness or sensual desire, ill will or aversion, sloth and torpor, which is like mental dullness or laziness, restlessness and remorse or anxiety and worry, and finally, doubt or uncertainty.
The Buddha uses some really striking analogies for getting rid of these, doesn't he?
He does. They're incredibly vivid. Overcoming covetousness is like being freed from debt. Overcoming ill will is like recovering from a serious illness. Releasing sloth and torpor is like being freed from prison. Letting go of restlessness and remorse is like a slave gaining freedom. And resolving doubt is like safely crossing a dangerous desert to reach safety.
Those really paint a picture of liberation, don't they? Relief from heavy burdens. What's the immediate feeling or result when these hindrances are gone?
The immediate result, the fruit, is described as joy, delight, tranquility, happiness, and profound concentration. The mind becomes clear, bright, and ready.
And this readiness leads to the jhanas.
Yes, the four jhanas. These are progressively deeper states of meditative absorption. You can think of them as levels of profound mental stillness, clarity, and unification. And critically, each jhana has its own immediate tangible fruit, its own distinct quality of experience.
Can you walk us through them? What are they like?
Okay, the first jhana. It arises from detachment from sensuality and unwholesome states. It's filled with piti and sukha, often translated as rapture and happiness or pleasure born of seclusion, accompanied by thought and examination. The analogy is like a bath attendant needing bath powder with water so it's thoroughly permeated, saturated, but doesn't drip.
So, intense, joyful focus. What about the second?
In the second jhana, the mental chatter, the thought, and examination subsides. There's still rapture and happiness, but now they're born of concentration, samādhi. It's a state of deep inner tranquility and unification of mind. The analogy here is a deep lake fed by an underground spring. The cool water wells up and fills the lake entirely from within, no need for external streams.
Wow, deeper stillness. And the third jhana?
In the third jhana, even the energetic quality of rapture fades away. What remains is a more subtle happiness or pleasure, sukha, along with equanimity, upa, and mindfulness. The monk is fully aware, experiencing ease in the body. The analogy is lotus flowers completely submerged in a cool pond, permeated and suffused with cool water from root to tip.
A calmer, more pervasive ease. And the fourth?
The fourth jhana is beyond even that subtle pleasure and pain. It's a state of pure, refined equanimity and mindfulness, untroubled by any feeling tone, utter stillness and clarity. The analogy is a person sitting completely covered by a pure white cloth. Every part of their body is touched by it.
So these aren't just vague feelings. They are distinct, describable, observable states of mind achieved through practice. They bring this tangible inner peace and clarity described with such incredible imagery.
Exactly. They're presented as verifiable states, almost like, internal proof that the mind, when trained, can achieve these profound levels of stability and insight. These aren't just pleasant side effects, they are the direct, fruitful results of the path.
Okay, so the mind is now incredibly purified, stable, concentrated through the jhanas. What happens next? What are the highest visible fruits?
With this highly refined mind, pliable, workable, steady solution, the monk can then direct it towards gaining extraordinary knowledges. These are called the paññā, and these are presented as the ultimate visible fruits in this discourse.
Extraordinary knowledges. Abhinyan. What kind of insights are we talking about here? This sounds like it goes beyond just feeling peaceful.
It definitely does. These are described as direct insights and abilities arising from this profound mental clarity, for instance, knowledge of the relationship between one's own body and consciousness, seeing it clearly, like a jeweler examining a gem with a thread running through it.
Okay. Deep self-understanding. What else?
Then there's the ability to create a mind-made body, projecting a subtle body from the physical one, like drawing a reed from its sheath or a sword from its scabbard. And the text describes various supernormal powers, being able to become many, pass through walls, walk on water, fly, even touch the sun and moon. These are compared to the skill of a master craftsman, like a potter or goldsmith, shaping material perfectly.
Wow. Okay, those are quite extraordinary.
They are. Then there's the divine ear, the ability to hear sounds both divine and human, far and near, and the knowledge of other minds directly perceiving the mental states of others, whether their mind has greed or not, is concentrated or scattered, and so on, like seeing your reflection clearly in a polished mirror.
Direct telepathy, essentially.
That's how it's described. Also, the recollection of past lives, remembering many former existences in detail, like a person recalling their journey through different villages, and the divine eye seeing beings pass away and be reborn according to their actions, their karma, like watching people move about in a city from a high tower.
So a whole range of profound insights and abilities stemming from that deep mental cultivation. But is there one that's considered the ultimate goal, the final fruit in this list?
Yes. The pinnacle, the fruit that surpasses all others mentioned here, is the knowledge of the destruction of the taints, āsava paññā.
The taints. These are the deepest mental defilements.
Exactly. Sensual desire, the desire for existence, ignorance. This final knowledge is the direct, unshakable understanding of the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering, its origin, craving, its cessation, nirvana, and the path leading to its cessation, the Eightfold Path. It's not just intellectual understanding, it's the complete uprooting and eradication of those taints from the mind.
That is the ultimate freedom, isn't it? Liberation itself.
It is. The text says the monk understands this directly. The knowing arises. Birth is destroyed. The holy life has been lived. What was to be done has been done. There is no more returning to any state of being. Complete release. The analogy for this clarity is seeing shells, pebbles, and fish clearly at the bottom of a transparent, still pond. Everything is utterly clear, understood, unclouded. This, the Buddha declares to Ajātasattu, is the highest, most unsurpassed visible fruit of recluseship.
Wow, that's quite an answer. Going from basic social respect all the way to ultimate liberation, presented as a series of tangible, achievable steps and results. How does the king react to all this?
He's completely won over. Overwhelmed, really. He praises the Buddha effusively, saying it's like setting upright what was overturned, revealing what was hidden. He formally takes refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the teaching, and the Sangha, the community of monks, declaring himself a lay follower from that day forward.
A full conversion right there.
Yes. And then, in this state of mind, he does something remarkable. He openly confesses his terrible crime.
The murder of his father.
Yes. He confesses that he killed his own father, Bimbisara, who was apparently a righteous king, in order to seize the throne. He acknowledges the transgression and asks the Buddha to accept his confession so he might practice restraint in the future.
That takes incredible courage. Confessing regicide to the Buddha himself. How does the Buddha respond to the confession?
The Buddha accepts it. He acknowledges the king's wrongdoing, but also states that recognizing one's fault, confessing it, and resolving to do better is how one grows in the noble discipline. It's a powerful moment acknowledging the gravity of the act, but also the possibility of purification through acknowledging the truth.
A path forward, even after such a terrible act. But there's a final twist, isn't there? A kind of sad coda after the king leaves.
There is. It's quite haunting. After King Ajātasattu has departed, the Buddha turns to his monks and says that the king was affected and ruined.
Ruined. Even after taking refuge and confessing.
Yes. The Buddha then remarks that if the king had not committed that terrible act of killing his father, then right there in that very seat, while listening to the discourse, he would have attained the dust-free, stainless Dhamma eye.
The Dhamma eye
Meaning a profound level of spiritual insight. The first stage of stream entry, a direct glimpse of nirvana. He was that close. His positive potential was immense, but the weight of his past negative action, the regicide, prevented that immediate breakthrough, even though he was deeply moved by the teaching. It's a really tragic note to end on.
It really is a profound what if. It shows the real consequences of actions, even as it shows the path to transformation.
So you've just journeyed with us through this incredible ancient text, the Sāmaññaphalasuttaṃ, and it tackles a question that feels incredibly modern, doesn't it? What are the real, tangible results of deep, sustained effort, especially when it comes to inner wisdom?
Yeah, the king started out looking for something almost like an external validation, maybe a quick fix, something another person could just give him. But what he found, what the Buddha described, was this detailed step-by-step path to liberation. And the fruits, the results, they went way beyond just social status or respect.
Right. This sutta isn't just history. It's making a strong case for the, let's say, verifiable internal return on investment of spiritual discipline. It's arguing that inner peace, mental clarity, contentment, even these extraordinary states of mind and ultimate liberation, they aren't just fuzzy concepts. They are presented as direct, fruitful outcomes, as tangible in their own way as, well, the earnings of a skilled craftsman that the king initially asked about.
And that final sobering comment from the Buddha about the king.
It really highlights something profound, doesn't it? How powerful worldly ambitions or maybe significant past actions that remain unresolved can actually obstruct a more immediate, liberating inner transformation, even when the potential is right there.
It leaves us with a powerful thought, perhaps, thinking about our own lives. What actions, maybe small ones, maybe bigger patterns, might be inadvertently getting in the way, preventing for you maybe not the Dhamma eye immediately, but perhaps just a clearer understanding of your own path, a deeper sense of inner peace. What might you need to acknowledge or perhaps let go of to gain that deeper clarity?
Something to definitely reflect on.